Welcome to another edition of Travelstart's FAQ Fridays with me, Nick Paul. Today is actually our 10th episode, can you believe it? And thank you for all of you asking your questions. So we're actually going to answer 10 recent questions now, so just quick answers to some of these. Starting off with Ken, who asked why are return flights less expensive in many cases than one ways? And why are return flights booked from SA half the price of the same flight booked from abroad? So the first part of your question there, that was actually answered in a previous video. You can click the link here to find the answer to that. As for why return flights booked from overseas are more expensive than booked from here in SA, that is really down to the fact that travel agents in SA will have negotiated fares for departures from their own country. So oftentimes agents and websites over there in other countries won't have the same deals for here. They'll have good deals for departures from their countries, but not necessarily from South Africa. Fazlet asked us if we could compare the cost of living in Africa to Europe. We could probably make a whole video out of this, but to give you a bit of a overview, Northern Europe tends to be very much more expensive than almost all of the rest of Europe, and this is countries like even UK, but also Norway, Sweden, Finland, and so on. Weirdly enough, a number of African countries, or African cities actually, work out really expensive, and the last check that I did, which was for 2012, Luanda in Angola actually worked out to be one of the most expensive, actually the most expensive city in the world. And often there are African cities like Libreville in Gabon and N'Djamena in Chad, which work out in the top 20 most expensive cities to live in the world. This is purely because there's not a lot of infrastructure in these countries and all your basic needs are flown in. So obviously the cost for those things is very expensive. M. Sholash asked us, what do you recommend for sending luggage overseas? Now, you can use the airline's excess baggage facility, but this is often very, very expensive. There are a number of companies that do specialize in excess baggage. One of the ones that we always recommend is UBag. You can find the link in the video description below. So yeah, that's probably a good one to use. Anele asked us, does Travelstart have an app for Android phones? The answer to that currently is no. It's a possibility that there could be something in the pipeline, but at the moment we don't have one. We have a site which is optimized for mobile, so you can use it on a mobile device. Leonie asked, do we have a branch in Port Elizabeth? And this is quite a common question in all the countries that Travelstart operates in, if we have multiple offices in each country, and we don't. We have one office per country usually, and what this does is it helps us to cut down operating costs, which then keeps the cost of the tickets low as well. We also are able to service all of our customers via phone or email, and most of the customers make bookings online. So there's really no need for us to have multiple offices in different cities. You're welcome to contact our agents though, as I said, by phone or email. Again, the details are in the description of the video, so have a look there. Marika asked us, why is airport tax more expensive than the actual plane ticket? Again, this is a question we answered in a previous video. It's actually quite an interesting video, so click here as well to get the answer to your question there. An anonymous question asking, okay, tell me this, why are tickets so expensive from OR Tambo to Kenya? And what are the cheapest tickets and airline to use? Again, another answer which has been answered in a previous video, and you can click the link again to see that here. But as for what the cheapest airline is to use, that will depend on when you fly and what's available at the time of booking. It can be the direct flights on SAA or Kenya Airways if they've got a special running, but oftentimes we'll find the cheap flights on airlines like Rwandair, which actually go via Kigali in Rwanda to Nairobi. Currently there are some good flight prices on the Travelstart website on that one. So I suggest you use Travelstart's site because it will compare all the different airlines, the different options, so you can see which is the cheapest for the dates that you're wanting to travel. Sanchia asked us, I am interested in a round the world ticket for the end of the year. It's 2 adults and 2 kids, and we're wanting to include Singapore, New Zealand, Hawaii, and Dallas. Please let me know if you're able to help. We do help with round the world tickets. You'll need to contact our agents, and again, details will be in the description of this video below. Just to give you a rough idea, usually round the world tickets like that will cost you in the region of just over 40,000 Rand per person. If you're going though in December, as I think you may look at spending a lot more than that, as that's the high season. A lot of the low fares aren't available, so you may end up spending a fair bit more. Lawrence asked us, How does a company like yours counter the approach of online agents like Hipmunk and Skyscanner, where they have a 60 or 90-day spread and you can get significant savings by being date flexible? So this is a really good question, and I wanted to point out here that Travelstart does actually have a flexible date option. It's a plus minus 3 days option, so it looks at 3 days before and 3 days after your departure and your return to find you the cheapest price. Also, if you're departing from South Africa, as I mentioned in one of the previous answers, it's often better to book through an agent which is based locally in South Africa, like Travelstart, because we actually negotiate fares with the airlines concerned. Those overseas agents often will only really have good flight prices for departures from their countries. In most cases, that's either the UK or the US. So a lot of the time you won't see the really good specials which are for departure from South Africa. Also, Travelstart's fares tend to be updated very regularly because it's obviously our business and it's our website. So a lot of these overseas companies will not update their prices as often. It's not always the case, but it can often be that way because they're obviously servicing a really large range of search queries, and to update all those prices regularly is often more expensive for them. That's a whole other video we could make there. But just to mention, we are on websites like Skyscanner, so our prices do feature there as well. So yeah, I think that will answer Lawrence's question there. And finally, Elmine asked us, what is the most affordable overseas trip for a South African family? This is a very big question. It's quite difficult to answer without knowing more about you, but you know, if you're looking at simply getting outside of the country, a flight from Joburg to Gaborone will probably be one of your cheapest flights, but it's going to be just over 2,000 Rand, but probably not going to be a great family holiday destination. If you're looking at beach holidays, places like Zanzibar can often be very reasonable. And if you're looking at going to other continents, you'll look at, if you're flying to South America, your cheapest airport to get into there will probably be something like Sao Paulo or Rio. With America, New York is always the cheapest one to get into. With Europe, it can change from time to time. Often it's southern European destinations like Milan or Rome or Athens, but it can be Frankfurt and so on. Asia, you often find good flight prices to India, and in the sort of eastern side of Asia, you'll be looking at places like Bangkok and Hong Kong will probably have your lowest fares. And again, Australia, which is a very popular one for South Africans, it's a very expensive destination to get to, unfortunately, and your cheapest flights will probably be into Perth in the western side of the country. That's it, 10 questions for our 10th episode. Thanks very much for asking. Keep asking them in comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to get more of these updates. That's it from me. Thank you.